Hey everyone, welcome to Stingray. This is the second video in the Python for Beginners series. We will be looking at how to use variables along with other simple commands in Python. We will also talk about the different data types that are available in Python. We're going to start off with the print command. The print command is pretty simple to understand. It prints or outputs whatever is inside these double quotation marks. The text that is surrounded by the quotes is called a string, which is a data type for text. We'll talk more about data types in a second, but for now, let's focus on running this cell. A cell in Jupyter Notebook is run or executed when we press the run button here. So let's run it, and here you will see the string hello world printed below. You could also replace the double quotes with single quotes. Let's try running it, and it still works. Note that you should type these characters exactly or you may get an error. If you forget a bracket, for example, and try to run it, you will get an error. You can also print numbers or integers, such as 4. And it will print the number 4. There's also a much faster way of running a cell, where you can press Shift and Enter at the same time. And you can write multiple lines of code in one cell. For example, if I type print more string and print 5 and do Shift Enter, you can see it prints both the string and the number 5. One last thing that you need to know about printing is the \n. That stands for new line. This means that you can print out multiple lines without the need to write separate print statements. There's a space in the output, so I will be removing it. You can also add multiple new lines into a single print statement. Now onto variables. You can think of variables as containers that have a specific value inside. Here, a is the variable, and it contains the integer 1. If we go ahead and print a, we get 1. As you can see here, we don't have to use any quotation marks surrounding the a because we are printing a variable and not a string. You can also assign strings to variables as well. And you can also change what the variable contains. So if I assign yellow to b and try printing it, it will now print out yellow. That is why they are known as variables, because their values can change or vary. Lastly, we're going to assign variables to other variables. We'll do c equals a, and if we print c, it's still 1, which is what a was. Now if we change a to 2, for example, we can try printing c and it's still the same value. So even if a changes, c remains the same. So we've learned of two data types, strings for text and integers for numbers, but there are two more basic ones that we need to know. Actually, integers are not the only number data type. It only covers the positive and negative whole numbers. Basically the numbers that aren't fractions or decimals. Those are part of the float data type. And the other data type is the Boolean or bool. Their only values are true or false. A useful function to remind us of an object's data type is the type function. Here I have some code which will return the types of these objects. I have put some commas here to basically allow me to print multiple objects at once, and it results in a space between them. If I run it, it says class followed by the type of these objects. The final thing for today will be converting from one data type to another, also known in Python as casting. The first type of casting we'll be looking at is int casting. If we put a floating point in the int statement, it will round down to the nearest integer. If you put a string with an integer inside the cast function, it will convert the data type into an integer. It is very similar with floats. Again, if you put a string with a float inside it, it converts it into a float. If you were to put an integer inside the float casting function, like 5, it will return with 5.0. The 0.0 makes us sure that it is a float data type. And last, with the str or string casting function, if you put an integer inside it or a float, it will turn into a string. Now if you print it, you can't actually see the difference. So that's why if you put the type function, you can see that it is clearly a string. Now, why would you want to turn an integer or a float into a string? You use it for concatenating, which we'll look into in the next episode, along with the different operators that are available in Python.